our baby, Kazamo. He wants to join us today to talk about age gap relationships. What's your take about age gap relationships? He just got his balls chopped off. Hi everyone, and welcome to my very first video here on the channel. If you're new here, which is literally all of you, I'm Dee. I'm a Filipina born and raised in the Philippines, and this channel is all about real talk, culture, expat life, and the things people don't usually say out loud. Since this is my first upload, I wanted... My cat's meowing. Cassie, do you want to come out? Say hi. Hi. Anyway, since this is my first ever upload, I wanted to start with a topic that so many people get curious and sometimes judgmental about. Age gap relationships in the Philippines. They're common, they're misunderstood, and they're talked about everywhere, except honestly. So today, let's break it down. The culture, the curiosity, the stares, the assumptions, the pros, the cons, and why age gap relationships seem to work for some people and fail for the others. No sugarcoating, no judgment, just an honest conversation. Yes, Cassie. Let me start with something anyone in a big age gap relationship will relate to. You walk into a restaurant and people pause, eyebrows rise like this, literally. And suddenly you're the main character in a movie trailer you didn't even audition for. And when the staring gets too intense, sometimes you just stare back. You kind of have to give them a taste of their own medicine and show them how awkward it actually is to be stared at. And if someone is really obvious, we've asked a couple times, do you just want to take a picture of us? You know, because at that point, why not? Let's make it official. So let's talk about it. Age gap relationships in the Philippines. The cultural side, the stigma, the curiosity, and how Filipinos don't see it the same way the West does. First, age gap relationships aren't rare in the Philippines. Like, it really isn't. They're actually very common. In Filipino culture, couples are judged less in age and more by character. We look at stability, kindness, loyalty, how some treats their partner and how they treat their own family and his or her partner's family, because that matters a lot, and that actually says a lot about how a person is or what kind of a person is he or she. Here, usually, age is just age. Take my own uncle as an example. This is a personal experience with age gap. He was in his 40s when he settled down with his wife, who was 19 at the time, and they were both Filipinos. And honestly, nobody in the family even blinked. Why? Because they were happy, responsible, consenting adults. And I guess that's what mattered the most. But of course, staring happens, judgment happens. People, especially Filipinos, love to assume. And here's why Filipinos don't see age gaps the same way as the West does. Obviously, I've never been to the West, so my view is kind of influenced by the people I have been talking to or what I see in the mass media. Many of our grandparents had 10 to 20 year age gaps. and stability and maturity are highly valued here. Older men with younger wives isn't unusual, like, it's not a rare thing. And next is that Filipino families often care more about how responsible someone is rather than romantic fantasies. And culturally, we don't obsess over youth the way Western dating culture does. I think even more so, Filipinos obsess with, I don't know if this is generally true, but they tend to lean more on the race of the other person because, oh, we're gonna have blue eyed babies, and oh, she's gonna be the next Miss Universe because most of our representatives for Miss Universe are actually half. And of course, a lot of Filipinos have this kind of mentality that someone's beautiful or handsome when they look more Western. Like if someone is half Phil-Am, for example, they're mestiza or mestizo, they're more beautiful. So I think that's why they tend to lean more on a foreigner for a husband because of better offspring. So if a relationship looks loving and respectful, most Filipinos won't make a big fuss about the age difference. Now let's talk about the real advantages of age gap relationships in a general sense, because there are quite a lot. You know, older partners tend to be more emotionally mature than younger ones, and they communicate clearly. They usually they're usually done with drama and games, especially in Western culture. They are very straightforward. And as a Filipina, we have this culture called tampo, which is like a silent treatment. And based on my own experience, foreigners don't like that. My partner in particular doesn't like that. We have fought over it a lot of times. And it clicked to me and it made sense not liking tampo or the silent treatment because they don't know how to read your mind. They can't read your mind. So if you're over there sulking and giving him the silent treatment, how is he going to correct what he has done wrong if he did something wrong, How are you going to fix something if he doesn't know that there is actually a problem? So, based on my take, they love to communicate because to them, communication is very important. Next one is younger partners bring energy and new perspectives, but older partners bring wisdom and life experiences. And different life stages can bring complementary strengths. They could bring financial stability, they have emotional depth, they have ambition, they have optimism, all blending in a way that works. But let's also be fair. Age gaps come with certain challenges, as all relationships does. People assume things about your motives, especially if you're a younger Filipina. Money, power imbalance, whatever stories their imagination creates. And these life stages can be different for the both of you. You may have different future plans, health, finances, and children that require honest conversations early on. Do you want a kid? He might be too old to want another kid. And some families accept it immediately, but others need time, and some may never get used to it. And yes, unwanted attention happens, especially when one partner looks significantly older or younger. And of course, let's not forget about the staring. Oh my god. This varies depending on the city and based on our experience. With the cities that we have been to in Dumaguete, people don't care because obviously there's a lot of expats there. Cebu, still chill. Bacolod and Iloilo though, people stare like they're part of the CSI, Relationship Investigation Unit. I've stared back because, it gets tiring sometimes. I've joked, do you want a picture? Or what are you staring at? Because sometimes people act like your relationship is their business when it's not, really. And of course, let's also talk about assumptions. The ones nobody says out loud, but everyone thinks. Especially when people see a younger woman with an older man, the first assumptions are usually, take a guess, she's a hooker, a gold digger, she's only in it for the money, or he's her ATM. And honestly, it gets tiring, sometimes insulting, because people create full-blown narratives about your life with zero information just by looking at you, and they're gonna conclude that, oh, she's a hooker. And let me be real for a second. I'd be a hypocrite if I said I've never judged another couple. I have. We all have. But whenever I catch myself doing it, I remind myself, who am I to judge someone I don't know? For all I know, they could be the happiest, healthiest couple ever. And society just hates the age gap, or some people just hate seeing other people happy, and that's actually sad. Now, another thing to talk about is money, the part that nobody wants to admit, but everyone knows is true. Would I date someone who isn't financially stable? Honestly, I would not. That's like shooting myself in the foot, because why would I choose a relationship that puts me in a worse situation? Let's be real, let's be honest. But is the money the only reason someone dates older? Of course not. It's just one factor among all the other factors why someone loves that person. The same way an older guy might be attracted to a younger woman's youth and beauty. We're all human. Attraction is complex. Needs are complex. And as long as both people are consenting adults, genuinely happy and respectful toward each other, and they're not hurting other people, I don't see the issue. So if you're in an age gap, in a big age gap relationship, or considering one, here's my advice, being in a big age gap relationship too. My partner and I have a 28-year age gap. Talk about everything clearly. Everything. Don't leave one thing behind, finances, future plans, health, expectations, boundaries. If you want children, if you want cats, you have to talk about everything. Next is be each other's peace, not a source of stress. Ignore people who aren't in your relationship, because at the end of the day, it's just you and him or you and her. And build your own bubble, the healthy one. Your relationship is not a community project for everyone to meddle into. So yes, age gap relationships have challenges, just like any other relationship does. But they can also be incredibly loving, stable, and fulfilling. They may not be for everyone, but they're not automatically wrong either. That's it for my take in age gap relationships, especially here in the Philippines. Now, before I end this video, I want to say this. Age gap relationships have so many layers we haven't even touched yet. Because let's be honest, when there's a big difference in age, experience, and usually financial stability, the dynamics change. A lot of Filipinas in long-term relationships are given the chance not to work anymore, which can be a blessing, yes. But what happens if things go wrong? What happens if the relationship ends or life suddenly shifts? Is the relationship helping you grow, or is it holding you back? Are you becoming a better version of yourself after meeting him or her? What about expectations for the future? Having a child, not having a child, where to settle down? Most foreigners want to retire in the Philippines, but a lot of Filipinos also dream of experiencing life in the US. So, whose dream wins? And how do you talk about that without fighting? These are deeper topics, the kind that deserve their own full video. If you want me to make a part 2 where we unpack all of this in detail, let me know in the comments. And just to be clear, I'm talking about legitimate long-term couples, not transactional bar girl or sexpat type relationships, because those are a different conversation entirely. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this conversation and want more real talk about culture, relationship, and life here in the Philippines, hit subscribe and join the community. And comment down what's the age gap of your relationship and how do people react where you live, because I'd like to hear your stories. Thank you and see you on my next video. Bye bye. Let's break it down. My cat's like jumping everywhere. Anyway, I'm sorry about that. Let's break fail for others. No sugarcoating. Yes, come here. Do you want to go on top of the gap relationships in the Philippines? Come here. If you like this conversation or this video, hit the subscribe and like button so that we can talk about